Hey YouTubers, I've talked to you about this bike on some other videos, but I dug it out and aired up the tires and wanted to kind of do a little close-up on some of the oddities on it. The back wheel is a Honda Hobbit moped wheel, which has 6-to-1 or thereabouts reduction inside the wheel and has this little neutral lever, so when you're just moving the bike around, you flip it around in neutral. It's fastened not just by the slip notch that the bike's back wheel used to go in when it was still just a plain old Schwinn 26-inch bike, but I had to put these top braces coming from up here at the seat post clamp all the way down to hold the gearbox on the wheel. And that fender bracket, some of you will recognize that as part of an oil slinger out of a small engine. I've used everything I can find, and it's all got a purpose sooner or later. The Springer is made out of these bars here that the light's showing. Those bars are these bars off of a 10-speed. So they were straight, and up there where my fender attaches is where the back fender on a 10-speed would have attached. Those are seat valve springs out of a 5-horse Briggs exhaust valve springs, the stiff ones, and those are seatbelt ends that the Springer coasts up and down in. You can see a piece of a muffler clamp in there welded to the fork. It tied in like it was made for it. Straightened out the forks in order to make it look more like a Springer. I was doing the hardtail motorcycle thing back in '79 when I made this. I thought, well, I'll just sort of make it look like some of the stuff I'm playing with. Up here at the top, I took a valve tool for taking the valve core out, soldered it to my gas cap for an overflow, because the cheap can paint that I've got on it, which I've skimmed all up over the years, but the cheap can paint was getting ate up by the gas sloshing out, so I just ran the overflow tube like they do on trail bikes, and I actually poked it down in one of the 10-speed rear wheel legs that I've got my Springer made out of. On the motor, I put extra tin around the shroud to make it really sit and run cool no matter what. It's an old 5-horse Tecumseh with points. The clutch didn't have any teeth on it. They were worn off, and the guy was going to throw it out, and I got it from him and took the water pump pulley off of a 223 cost clipper Ford panel truck, 53 Ford panel truck, 6-banger water pump pulley, cut the big old snout off of it, and just welded the pulley in 3 equidistant spots to the clutch drum, and got it going as a belt clutch now. So it ain't junk. Around here, nothing's junk. Well, that's that's deceiving. Nothing gets thrown into junk, I'll say. I got a lot of junk. That's a Toyota permanent magnet heater motor running the headlight in a big old O-ring fastened together with a piece of spring. Works better than you're probably thinking. That spring has been on there 25 years at least, maybe more than that. Got a bicycle kickstand shortened off and cut and welded to the foot pegs. Where the pedal socket used to be, let me see if I can get a light on it. That's where the bar used to attach under there. But I had to cut it open, and you cut it open, you bounce up and down on the seat till it bows to the proper amount. You sprawl out the front leg till it gets wide enough for a motor, and you say, well, that looks about right. Set the motor in. If it fits, you weld your plate in the bottom. This riser here is an old Harley-Davidson handlebar riser. 1 inch, fits this frame real good. Tank's another one of them little mini bike tanks that I've cornered 3 of over the years. I'd love to have a dozen more. They're not like the China tanks. They're way deeper. It wasn't Rupp. I used to say on the video that it was a Rupp tank, and I'm wrong. It's not a Rupp, but I can't remember the name of it. Did come out on. Rupp had kind of a homely looking tank. This one's kind of looks like a Whizzer tank a little bit. If it's a little more long and drug out, it would be like a whizzer tank. The gas hose, and it has a shutoff. I've pointed out in every one of them because they're in the basement. But the hose beyond the shutoff is an NG tube that I brought home from the hospital when I'd had gastrointestinal surgery. They charged it to my insurance company. It was going to go in the garbage, and I said, oh, hell no. That's going home with old JD. I ain't throwing that out. And that's been on there for years, and the gas does not hurt it like people are probably thinking. It's impervious to gas. It's been on there. Well, the bike was built in '79, and I opened the gas up and run it let the carburetor fill up and run it every 5 years or so. The Kickstarter is a HEGAR, M-E-G-A-R products. HEGAR, H-E-G-A-R, Portland, Oregon. A guy named Sparky Moore at Preston Auto Supply gave it to me, still brand new and in the box. But over the years, I've had to put a little stop bolt down below it because it was breaking holes in the shroud. It's not as, Tecumseh shroud ain't got much strength to it. No shrouds do, really. I put a cheater bracket up here on top and a stop at the bottom, kind of beef it up a little. There's a better view of the muffler clamp on the Springer up there that the seatbelt ends or seatbelt brackets are welded to. And you can see the straightened out fork and the little rockers at the bottom made out of just flat stock. Got a headlight off an old English Racer bicycle running off of that Toyota heater motor, and a taillight also. It's a 77 Toyota permanent magnet heater motor. They're in the junkyards if you want to make you a generator for nothing. Same kind of kill button I use on all of them. One of those little pressure things that goes in a picture frame to keep the glass slammed up against the front of the frame. Every bike I got's got one of them on it, just about, to ground the points, or electronic ignition if it is a motor that has electronic. Some kind of motorcycle lever for my brake. Don't remember what kind of bike it was. Japan, so it's some kind of Japanese bike. Had a brake light switch in it at one time up there above the lever, so it was a front brake lever off of a Japanese bike. And the cable from it comes back here, fastens to a little ear welded on the strengthener to hold the back wheel in. There's the original bike catching the bottom bolt. There's the bracket coming down catching the top bolt, and I just welded my brake outer cable fastener to that. Got a split in it so you don't have to do any fancy finagling to get the cable down in there. Used a piece of some kind of tough metal to go down and fasten to where the Honda Hobbit brake cable used to go to. And I had forgot about this, but it's got a sprag out here because you could pedal the Hobbit to start it or to get it home if it wouldn't run, but that's not necessary now. It's just, I ought to take it off and use it for a kickstart assembly. That's a good thought. I might do that. This was a 26-inch fender that the reason it looks wide, it was brand new fender, so I took it and put it around my kneecap and kind of finessed it till I got it to bow down to fit that 16-inch, 16 or 17-inch. Let me see if I can see it on there. No, it's one of the two. It ought to have a size 17. 2 1/4 by 17 Honda Hobbit rim. I made a 26-inch fender fit it down pretty close, looked pretty good. One time, before I put the belt on it, you can see the rough marks in my half of a variator system. I welded a bicycle sprocket to it and had a bicycle sprocket welded to the clutch. But chain was too dangerous down there. I was afraid it's going to fly off and mess my leg up. So I went to belt, and it's just a better deal all the way around. Ain't a thing in the world wrong with belt. Carburetor's an old It has nothing to do with this Tecumseh motor. It's probably a Clinton. It's an old Carter carburetor. Got a neat spring-loaded choke on it. And the bottom bolt, if I remember right, was stripped. Yeah, this is the one that was stripped. It doesn't have an adjustment in the bottom. So I took a 5/16 bolt and a nut and ran it up in until it bit on some good threads, and then run the jam nut up against it to hold the float bolt on. Been that way for 25 years or thereabouts. Everything I got's been done for 25 years. That ain't necessarily true, but a whole lot of my stuff's been done for a lot of years. Then I took a breather from it. Now that I'm off from work, I'm back at it again. Got a cool little tail light there. And it runs the whole time. Whole time the motor's running, the generator runs because it's on the crankshaft out beyond the clutch. So it's turning when the bike's sitting still, you still got lights. That was something I wanted to be sure and have, is a continuous light, not like the generator on the tire kind. I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I put a neat American Flyer badge up here on the tank. Schwinn built, Louisville Cycle and Supply Company, American Flyer badge. I thought that'd look cool. A lot of people say I didn't know that Louisville Cycle and Supply ever made a motorbike, and they didn't, but that was just a fun thing to do. I've done it on a few bikes. That one has a Goodyear badge on the shroud. Had the same question asked about it. I guess that's about all I can tell you about it. It's got a cool stance. 5-horse motor pulls it real good. And you're low and down into it. The seat doesn't, I did have the seat down fastened to that hole right there. I had a seat bolted real low because girl down the street's son was a little kid when I let him ride it, and he couldn't reach the foot pegs, so I cut the seat, sprawled the seat out and put bolts down here and had it real low for him. But after he got bigger and lost interest in fooling around with bikes, I put it back where it's supposed to be. So, top mount made out of an old Harley riser and some kind of lever, God knows what. That keeps it good and stable. And the exhaust is a piece of conduit heated with a torch and bent. Made it go around the seat post bar and then come back to the right side. And bologna sliced it on the end. It's full of oil because the motor smokes a little bit. But it's the one that looks more like a motorcycle than any of the others, I believe. That's about all I can tell you about it. It was fun. It'll still go. It probably needs a good carb cleaning and maybe the points sanded and washed off. But it ran a couple years ago at Beatersville, so it wouldn't be any trouble to get it going again. Thank you for watching. If I make any more videos, I'll be posting them. Bye-bye.